Go. Here's your first problem on worksheet 11-2. It says, find the center and your fixed point of this hyperbola. So what you have to do, you should recognize that it has x and y squared and you see a minus sign. So if there were a plus sign here, it would be an ellipse. So right away I recognize the minus sign and I'm going to say, okay, let's get our x's together. 3x squared minus 6x plus something, and then minus 4y squared. Okay, me and electric mechanical pencils do not get along. Minus 4y squared minus 16y plus something equals negative 7.
Are you testing today?
No, I'm teaching. Okay, now, you have to have a 1 in front of this x squared and the y squared. So you're going to pull a 3 out of these two. And you're going to pull out a negative 4 out of these two. And these are always plus something. And now, to complete the square, you got to do it twice here. You take half of this number and you square it. Half of negative 2 is negative 1, squared is 1. So think of this as you didn't add 1, you added 3 times 1, which is 3. So you have to add that number to this side. Half of 4 is 2, 2 squared is 4. You added negative 16, you're going to add negative 16 here. Now you factor. X minus 1, half of 2 is 1, minus 4, y plus 2 squared equals, if you add these up, I believe you get negative 20. Now, this is the boss right here. You want to get a positive 1 here. Don't worry about getting rid of the 3, don't worry about getting rid of the 4. Divide everything by negative 20. So what ends up happening, you're going to bring this 3 down here. You're going to have x minus 1 squared over negative 20 thirds. And then these two are going to cancel. You're going to have plus. If you divide 20 divided by 4, what do you get? 20 divided by 4. 5. Now, see this negative right here? This has got, this problem had a bunch of spins on it. First of all, the fact that this was negative, and you had to divide by negative. And then, what's happening is, you want the negative to be in the middle of the equation, right here. So you're going to have to flip-flop these two. So the problem looked like it was going to be a hyperbola that was wrapped around the x-axis. But instead, it's going to be right side up. It's going to be like a tree. So you're going to want to switch this to y plus 2 quantity squared over 5 minus x minus 1 squared over 20 thirds equals 1. So when it starts with y, it looks, I think, of a tree. They look like that. When it starts with y. If it started with x squared and then this was y squared, it'd be on its side. Now, the center, they're asking you what the center is. The center is, you take the opposite of 1, negative 1, which is 1, and the opposite of 2, which is negative 2. That's your center. Okay, so if we were to sketch this graph, what is it? The center is at 1, negative 2, right there. Now, you want to take the square root of this, square root of 5. What is the square root of 5? 2.2. What, 2.2? And 20 thirds. About 2.58. say 2.6. So this is your A value, and that's your B value. So from your, if you were to sketch the graph of this, you're gonna go 2.2 units above the X right here, and 2.2 below. That's your A value. These are your A values. Now B is gonna be 2.6. So you go 2.6 this way, 2.6 this way, and then if you wanted to sketch your graph, actually they're not asking you to sketch the graph, but I just wanted to do a little bit more. Your asymptotes are these, and your graph is gonna look like this. Now, how do you do the asymptotes? The asymptotes, if it's up, if it looks like a tree, it's A plus or minus A over B. So it'd be plus or minus the square root of 5 over the square root, which I'm not gonna give you anything that crazy to find the asymptote where you have a radical in the numerator, radical in the denominator. But just so you know, the asymptotes are plus or minus A over B when it's up vertical. These are your asymptotes. Now, they also asked you where the fixed points are. So, how do you do that? You do A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Well, this is A squared. A squared is right here, 5, and that's B squared. So 5 plus 20/3 is C squared. Get a common denominator, so multiply both of these by 3. So 15 plus 20 is 35 over 3. Square root both sides, and C is root 35 over 3. So this is the number of units the fixed point is from the center. So you're going to add and subtract root 35 over 3 from this point. So your center, here's your center. This is 1, -2. You have to add and subtract this C value, which is root 35 over 3. You're going to add and subtract that from the Y value. So where are your fixed points? It's at 1, -2 plus and minus root 35 over 3. These are your fixed points. So you go up root 35 over 3 and down root 35 over 3. These are your fixed points. Any questions on that one? Okay, number 2, determine the equation for the hyperbola. It has a center at 0, -2. 0, -2 is right at your center. One of the vertices is at 0, -4. So if that's a vertex, this thing is going like that. And I already know what A is. A is 2. And one of your focus points is at 0, 2. So it looks like this is what your hyperbola looks like. So I already know that the orientation is going to be y squared. I know that's where I'm starting here. So I already know that A is 2. And I know C is 4. I just need to figure out what B is. So how do you incorporate the center in here? Well, 0, and you're going to put your 2 here. So it's y plus 2 squared, and then x squared. That's how I put my center in, 0, -2. Now the A value is going to be 2, so we're going to put a 4 here. Now we need to figure out what B is. I know A, and I know C. So I know that A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So 4 is A squared. We don't know what B squared, but we know C squared is 16. If you subtract 4, B squared is 12. And that's the number that goes there. Questions? Number 3, determine the equation for the hyperbola with the ends of the conjugate axis. So we have the ends of the conjugate axis are, and that's going to give you your B value. So where is 6, 3? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. And then we have -4 and 3. So this is 2B. halfway between here is gonna be your center. So halfway in between here and here is gonna be your center. You can eyeball it, what is it? Where is your center? And if you don't know, you do the midpoint formula. Add these two up and divide by 2. Add these two up and divide by 2. So where is your midpoint? It's gonna be 1, 3, and that's gonna be your center. This is your center right here. And then it says one of the vertices is at 110. So let me draw this over here. So here's your B value. That's 2B. So 1, 3 is your center. And then 110 is your vertex. So this thing's going like that. So how many units is it from here to here? Well, if you went over 1 and up 3, and then up to 10, how many units, this is gonna be your A value. What's A? So 3 to 10 is what? 7. So what's B? B is 5, right? So let's put this all together. So this is going to be a hyperbola that looks like the tree. So it's going to start with y squared. So we have to figure out what A is. A is going to be 7. So you're going to put a 49 here, and B is 5, and then put 25 here. Now the last thing you need to do, you need to put your center in. What did we say the center was? 1, 3. So you're going to put y minus 3 squared minus x minus 1 squared. 49 goes underneath y squared, and 25 goes underneath x squared, and don't forget to set that equal to 1. So that's that one. Next one. This one wants just the vertices. Okay, so again, we recognize that it's x squared and y squared minus. So you're going to do 2, let's organize this, 2y squared minus, I'm going to put these two together. And put the 3 here. So now, what I want to do is I need to complete the square. So for this one, you don't have to complete the square here, but you do have to complete it here. So this is what I like to do. Take out a -1. So half of this squared is 1. So you added -1 here, you're going to add -1 here. So you have 2y squared minus 1 times x minus 1 squared equals 2. Now remember, this is the Bosch, you're going to divide everything by 2. So you end up with y squared, get rid of this 2, divide this by 2. So you have y squared over 1, oops, minus. This, you don't need that 1 there, so it's x minus 1 squared over 2 equals 1. So this is, they want to know where the vertices are. So what you have here, this is a hyperbola that looks like the branch, where your center, the center is going to be at 1, 0. Where is 1, 0? Right there. Now, the square root of this, which is 1, and then the square root of 2 is b. They want to know where your vertices are. So these are going to be your 2 vertices. Square root of 1 is 1. So you're going to go 1 above the x-axis and 1 below here. So it looks like this. So 1, 1. And 1, -1 are your 2 vertices. There you go. 1, 1, and 1, -1. Okay, next one, number 5. Determine the equation for the hyperbola. It has vertices at 0, -1, and using graph paper sometimes is the way to go on these. You can see exactly where, what your A value is. Sometimes that's easier. So where is 0, -1? Here's 0, -1, and 4, -1. If these are vertices, this is telling me that it's like this. So I like to sketch a graph. So these are vertices, so in other words, my graph is gonna be, my equation is gonna be x squared minus y squared. And I already know where my center is. It's halfway, which is 2, -1. So I can write x minus 2. Don't forget your squared. My A value is 2, so you're gonna put a 4 here. And then this tells you your C value is -2, -1. So from here to here is your C value. So C is 4. C is 4. Does everyone understand that? A is 2. You go halfway in between here. This is, by the way, 2A. This is your transverse axis. From here to, from one vertex to the other is your transverse axis. So halfway in between, which is 2, -1, that's your center. The A value is 2, so 2 squared is 4. C is from your center to your fixed point, that's 4, so you're gonna have, now what we need to do is write our equation, x squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if a squared is 4, we don't know what b squared is, but we do know c squared is 16. What is b squared? 12. That's what goes there. Okay, number 6, it says determine the equations for the hyperbola with vertices at 6, 3 and -2, 3. So where is 6, 3? And -2, 3. So this is what this is telling me. 6, 3 and -2, 3. So what point lies right in the middle here is your center? How are you gonna find that? You're gonna do the midpoint formula. You're gonna add these two up, which you get 4 over 2, which is 2. Add these two up, 6 over 2, which is 3. So 2, 3 is the center. And I know, because it's hugging the x-axis, it's gonna be x squared. So x minus 2 squared over something, which I can figure out what that a value is. Easy. And then y minus 3 squared equals 1. So what is the center? 2, 3, that's easy. What's the a value? So if you went over 2 and up 3, and this is going to 6, from 2 to 6 is 4, right? So 16 goes underneath a. A squared is 16. Now, because this is, it's on its side here, here's your asymptotes. It's a B, this is a B to A ratio. B to A. So you've got B over A is equal to 3 to 4. If it were going up and down like this, it's A to B. So I know that A is 4. So what's B? B is 3. So I'm going to put a 9 here. And there's, just to verify, you're correct. And the last one. They want you to find everything. This is what's going to be on your test. Find the vertices, find the foci, find the equation for the asymptotes, and sketch its graph. So, how do you find the vertices? Actually, the first thing you should find is your center. -1, -2. That's your center. This one's gonna be hugging the y-axis. 2 units up is your vertices. So this one and this one, that's your 2A. A and A is 2A. Your B value is 4. You're gonna go 4 this way and 4 this way. This is all you need to do for me on your test. Here are your 2. This is your transverse axis, this is your conjugate axis. And just draw your graph. And one more thing I want you to do is find the C value. Add these 2 up and take the square root of that, and that's the number of units you are from the center. So A squared plus B squared, so 4 plus 16, C is equal to root 20, which is 2 root 5. You're gonna add and subtract 2 root 5 from the y value of your center. Your center was -1, -2. So your fixed points are 2 root 5 above and below the y value. So -1, comma, -2 plus or minus 2 root 5. These are your fixed points. You add and subtract this number of units from your y value. And that's it.
Anyone have any questions?